Are you someone who is into podcasts? Perhaps you want to have a really cool library where you can find some great podcasts to listen to on your commute to work. Or maybe you're looking to create one yourself. Well, let me tell you about Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, all right? It's free. It has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your PC. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you. Complete ease, hassle-free, so that way you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as many more outlets. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Okay, folks? Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. It's fantastic, all right? And if you want to get started right now, all you got to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Season 2, the very beginning of Season 2 of Just a Glimpse. I've got some pretty big news, at least for me, that I wanted to touch base on to kick off Season 2, and it's kind of some sad news for me. I know some other people may not, be that impacted by this, but for me this is quite a big deal, and that is I had 2 games within like a day of each other get announced that they were being canceled, discontinued, what have you. So I want to go through and talk about those games and why they're important to me and how I feel about them, making the decision that was made. Now, to start off, we're going to go with the first one. It was announced on the 23rd of this month. All right, February 23rd, 2021, in case those of you who are listening to this way later, that Tryon Worlds was going to shut down the servers for Defiance. Now, some of you are probably going to be like, wow, that's a game I haven't played in years, so you're not really, no big deal. Or you might be people who are like, Defiance, what the heck was that? Alright, well, Defiance was this game that came out almost 8 years ago. It'll be 8 years this April. And it was a sci-fi MMO that came out on Xbox 360, PC, and I think maybe PlayStation 3. I'm not sure. I don't pay attention to Sony that closely. I think they had it too. And it was extra special because it was also a game that ran side by side with the Sci-Fi Channel's Defiance TV series at the time. They went ahead and they were doing development for both the game and the show together so that it could be like this different experience. And this was pretty major. I was discussing this on my Twitch the other day about how I think it was the first time this has ever occurred, as well as the last time it has ever occurred. Because we will see video games that are successful get turned into movies, as well as movies that are successful get turned into video games. But we have never before, to my knowledge, seen a movie or TV series get made at the same time as a show and have them correlate back and forth. They would take things from the show and put in the game, and then they'll have special things in the game that would be referenced to the show and things like that of that nature. And if anybody knows of any other game that did that before or after Defiance, please let me know, because to my knowledge, this was groundbreaking. No one has ever done it, and I don't think anybody has done it since. This was amazing. This was such an amazing concept. Very, very innovative. Alright, so it's really cool. And I loved the TV show. Alright, it was freaking fantastic for me. I like a lot of those TV series that the Sci-Fi Channel has. And anybody who knows things on the Sci-Fi Channel, you're not going to be getting, top class shows. This isn't, HBO or, you know, like your NBC quality shows, you know what I'm saying? It's sci-fi, you know, but for me, I like those shows. I really enjoy those shows. And a lot of times they have their stereotypical corniness, and I like it still. You know, it works. You know, sci-fi just is, you know, it is what it is. And I just really, really enjoyed how you could go and you could watch the show. You start to really get enough feel for the characters and everything, and then you could go and play the game, and then after so much time goes by, they'll introduce a special mission or something that was a direct correlation to something that happened in the show. They'll bring characters from the show and they'll put them in the game for you to interact with for a specific mission or something. And it was just so cool. And then they had, in the game, they had this sickness that broke out. I can't remember what it was called, so forgive me. But they had this sickness that broke out, and it went across, you know, the area. Now, what's interesting, I didn't mention this, is the show took place in what was formerly St. Louis. Okay? And the video game takes place in what was formerly San Francisco. So we're going way in the future. The premise is aliens are fleeing their solar system because another species came in and invaded, and a bunch of other species that were in that system were fleeing because they lost their planets. They're trying to find a place to make their home. They come across Earth. It's the same old, same old. Well, we have no place to live. We want to live here. So they start terraforming the planet so they could live here. Of course, you know, Earthlings are going to be like, yo, you guys are invading our planet. So there's look at this. They end up having a huge war. And they talk about this. Now, the game and the show both take place well after the war had ended. So now it's, you know, seeing how the different species are trying to coexist peacefully the best that they can. But they still have that tension because they went through a war that lasted years and years. And so it was a really, really great story. And so they would have the sickness that started in the San Francisco area, we'll call it that. And they start talking about it in the show, about how one of their doctors had to go over there and stuff, and then they come back later, and then it's worked its way over to them, so that they brought it together, and it was really, really cool. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, now it's like 2021, and we're in the, you know, COVID-19 is still quite strong, and this is way, this is like 8 years ago, way before, you know, COVID. So, you know, so basically they had kind of like this same kind of like pandemic happen, you know, in the show and the game, which was, you know, it was an interesting storyline. Like today, if someone did it today, it would be too soon because now we're actually living it. But, you know, this was 8 years ago, well, you know, so it was, you know, it worked. And that was just a small part of their storyline. That was like a special event in the game. And then you go and you find a way to get the cure. I believe the doctor from the show, she ended up finding out the cure, and then you go back in the game and you get help, and then you're able to stop it. And then, you know, because it's an MMO, they come up with new events, you know, as things go on. And it was just really cool. And so for me, to get the announcement that they're shutting it down makes me a little sad. I actually, before I had known about this announcement, I had just started playing it again. I got together with my friend Todd, and we were talking about what we were going to play because we're kind of working through backlog. And I kind of brought up, why don't we play Defiance again? Now, this game was really special to me because this was the game where I met him. So, for those of you who do not know, Todd is my gaming buddy. We play almost everything together. Anything that we can play together that has co-op, we're going to do it. And Defiance was the game we first met. I was playing, I was doing a mission. I finished the mission. I saw his character running around. He looked kind of a little confused, like he needed help. I reached out, I sent him a message, asked him if he needed help, and he said yeah. So we grouped up. I helped him through the mission. We had a good experience playing together, so, I asked him if he wanted to just keep playing together, and he was all for it, and we were best friends ever since. So, it was, it holds a very special place, in my heart, because one of my best friendships was made in this game. That's why, it's extra special. I mean, there's going to be plenty of people who played this game and they weren't wowed by it because it's, it's not a high budget, AAA game. All right, it's just, Tryon Worlds makes it. They have games like Trove and Arcade, games that do decent on PC, but they're not widely known, but they still do well enough. And so this was their time to get something that they were going to put across all platforms and tie into a show. So this was a big undertaking for them. And the game was super popular. I remember going into the game and there were so many people playing, doing world events, and doing attacks and things that it would leg the servers out. Because there was just so many people. And, and you love to see it. You hate to see it, but you love to see it. You hate it because you want to play and your servers are crashing. So that, it sucks. But then when you think about it, it's like, yes, because that means people want to play it. And there's a lot of people that want to play it. So that's a good sign. There's nothing more disappointing than going into a game that you really like and it's a dead game. There's nobody playing it. And now you can't really play it because no one else is playing it. That sucks. So as much as it sucks to play a game you love and you have to deal with server issues or anything like that, it's kind of still a positive because that tells you that it's a really good game and people want to play it for that to be happening. And that was Defiance. All right, and I just love that game. And then 3 years ago, they decided, because they weren't, I guess, because the 360 and like that generation of console, the 360 and the PS3, if they had it, I think they probably did, were so limited to handle a game of this caliber, because it was really good on PC. And it definitely had problems on console, because this was a huge undertaking, and those consoles were very limited. There's a reason why, back then, you didn't see MMOs on that generation of console, because those consoles couldn't handle it. Alright? So they were really taking a risk trying to get an MMO to properly work on those consoles. And it struggled. It did. I'm not going to say this game was on there and it was perfect, because it definitely wasn't. It had problems. But I was still able to go in and put over 1,000 hours into this game and have a freaking blast playing it, despite those problems. Well, they weren't able, because the game was just the way that the infrastructure was, and it just wasn't, didn't have like the foundation that they would need to bring it to the next gen consoles at that time, which would have been, PS4, Xbox One. So they decided to kind of rebuild the game from the ground up. So because they had to do that, and they made Defiance 2050, which is basically the same game, they just made a few changes to, like the skill tree system was changed, they put classes in, and they had some synergy stuff put in, and they made some changes to it, but essentially it was the same game. But because they had to do that, you weren't able to carry over your character, which sucked. Because, like I said, I put over 1,000 hours in this game. I had amazing gear. I spent money in this game to get some really cool outfits and cars and things to play with in the game. And I had all of the challenges and things all done. I found all the collectibles, like everything. I did everything. So then to find out that if I want to continue on and play on the next generation Xbox, because I didn't have PC at the time. But even the PC people, they couldn't transfer either. But the PC people had an advantage. They didn't have to switch to 2050. The PC community had the option to either stay on the original Defiance or switch to 2050. So people who were new to the game and never played the original, they would play 2050 so they could have the newer, better running game. But if you were already playing, more likely than not, if you were on PC, you stuck with the older game because you didn't want to lose all your stuff. The console people didn't have that option. You were forced to switch to 2050. And so in doing so, you lost your character and your progress. So that was a huge bummer. And because they did that, I didn't even want to play 2050 for a good long time because I was, very upset about losing all that hard work I had put into the other one, and it was just gone. So it took me a while to adjust to where I was like, you know what, I missed this game, I want to go back. So now I've finally gone back, and I'm playing it. I'm really enjoying it again. Yes, it still has problems. There's still people playing it, which was shocking. I expected when I would go into this game that there would be nobody in the server. It would just be me and like my game party, my group that was playing at the time. I expected us to be the only people in the whole freaking game. But no, there's actually people playing it. Whenever I go to like an Arcfall or a Siege, which these are like the randomly spawned world events that pop up everywhere in the game, there's always people there. There's always at least 10 to 20 people at these events. And I'm like, whoa, So that was kind of a surprise for me for sure. I mean, it's in the long scheme of things, it's sad that there's only 10, 20 people there, because when this game came out, you had thousands of people there. But the fact that there were still people there was, that was a pleasant surprise, because I expected it to be completely dead. But no, I'm having a lot of fun playing it again. I'm happy I'm playing again. And I started playing it right before they dropped the bomb that they're going to shut it down. So that makes me sad. And so I'm playing through it. They're going to make they're going to turn all of the boosts and stuff on for like reputation and experience and things like that on. So that way those who are playing it can have time to get everything done before they turn it off. And they're going to turn the game off April 29th. Of this year. So I still got, so they're basically ending it right around, it would be the 8-year anniversary for Defiance, like the 3-4 year anniversary for 2050. So it'll get shut down then, and then I'll have to just remember the good memories and move on from there. But I'm playing through it again. I'm having fun with it, and I'm going to enjoy as much as I can while the game is still on. And so if anybody hasn't had a chance to play it, I really do recommend you get into it. It is free to play. Get into it and play it before it gets shut down. You got until April 29th. All right, so go ahead and take a crack at it and see what you think of it, so you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. Definitely, if you can, bring a friend with you, because depending on where you play, like I'm playing on Xbox One, and there are people in there playing, but I don't know what the ecosystem is like within the player base for the other platforms. So I would recommend at least have a friend with you in the event that you don't find randoms. You could still have someone to do missions with and get a decent experience of what the game was like. So check that out. And I just kind of want to go over what they said. Now, if you were to go to Tryon World's official website and go to their Defiance page, they make the closure announcement, and you could tell that they're sad because this game's been going on for like 8 years. So you know that they were passionate about this. Alright, there's plenty of games today that are AAA games that have flopped and failed and are dead within 3 months. Alright, so this is a big deal. And so they just say, to our loyal Defiance and Defiance 2050 communities, since the release of Defiance 8 years ago, followed by the release of 2050 3 years ago, we have shared countless gaming memories. Today we come to you with hearts heavy with sadness as we announce that Defiance and 2050 will officially cease all operations on April 29th, 2021. The decision was not an easy one to make, we concluded that both games could no longer sustain themselves. We don't have the player base anymore. I get it. While we are discontinuing the game service, we will never forget the incredible journey we embarked on together. It is never easy to announce the shutdown of any game, knowing how much time and effort we have all put into making Defiance and 2050 enjoyable for many years. As of today, all cash purchases will be disabled. Bits purchased before the 24th of February will still be usable until the end of service. Players may continue to play in Defiance and 2050, enjoy all game features until April 29th. And then they go on to list some content that will be available. They're mentioning that there will be a 95% discount on all in-game items sold with bits. So if you already had bits saved up and were able to buy them before they stopped selling them, you can get anything you want at 95% off, which is a cool deal. Use them up. Have fun with some extra stuff for a little bit before the game's done. And then they said every 1 to 2 weeks they're going to hold a server event. All server boosts, skill, reputation, and experience will be active, and they're going to have some item giveaways. They want to go out on a happy note. This is nice. If you were wondering what to play next, now that your favorite games are closing, worry not. We have a wide selection of games, and this is where they go when they try to, lure their consumer base into checking out their other games like Trove and Arcade and whatnot. So I'm not going to go and read all that. None of that matters to me. But that's pretty much the gist. So I'm really happy that they're going to, unlock the boost, make everything cheap in the game so people can still take advantage of what they can before the game gets shut down. This is really good faith, and like I said, they want people to have a happy experience until it's gone, versus abruptly just killing it off like a lot of other developers do with their games. So this is a nice little thing. That's pretty much all I want to say about Defiance. I love this game. I have fond memories of this game. You still have until April 29th to try it out and play it. If you were a fan of it yourself and you want to give it one last hurrah before it's gone, or if you never played it and you want to just you're curious, go ahead and check it out. This game does have problems because, it is outdated, and because they don't have the player base. They haven't been pushing for server patches and things that it needs. There's no it's not getting those hot fixes. So you're going to run into some issues, but please go in open-minded, and I hope you enjoy it. The next game I wanted to talk about was Anthem. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of Anthem. That game was very, very heavily broadcasted within the gaming media, so everybody has heard of it, even if you didn't play it. And literally one day after Defiance announced that they were closing, Anthem has announced that they are going to discontinue development. And this was sad news for me because they had been working for the last year on their Anthem Next. For a while they called it Anthem 2.0, and then they said there was going to be Anthem Next. Pretty much what it was is they were going to redo the loot system and the weapon system, like get some new weapons in there and change how the loot system works to make the game a better experience, and they were going to put some new content in there as well. And they've been working on that for the last year to try to get everything fixed, and then they decided that they were just going to move on, and I understand that. I know that this was going to be a hard choice that they had to make because they've been trying so hard and working on all this new content and changes. They didn't just give up. They've been working hard on this stuff. I follow Christian Daly and them on Twitter, and whenever they would, they would always share the progress they were making in development. They would show screenshots of new areas that they were creating for the game and the like. So I know that they were focused on the betterment of the game. They were not going to be, they weren't, slacking off just to be like, we're just gonna, sweep it under the rug and forget about it. And now, as much as all negative reviews and comments you'll see for this game by people, I thoroughly loved Anthem. It was my personal pick for Game of the Year in 2019. I know that game would never win Game of the Year because it had such negative press. People were so disappointed because of the loot system. But I loved it. I loved it. The loot system was a minor thing for me. I didn't really care about that so much. The combat mechanics, the flight mechanics, the overall gameplay, the fun I had playing with my friends, the different kind of enemies and challenges and things to do in the game was so well done that I had plenty of fun just playing it for what it was. I wasn't focused on loot. Whenever I play these games, I'm not a meta gamer. And what I mean by that is there's plenty of gamers when they play games with loot, they want the meta build. They go out of their way to get the best armor, the best gun, they want the best attacks, whatever. They want best of everything so they can just, meta their whole way through the game. And I don't play like that. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care. I'll sit here and I'll play with some people that are really into that, and they'll go over all the percentages and stats of all the things, and I don't care. All right? As long as I can pop in the game and have fun for, 4+ hours in an evening when I play with my friends, I'm happy. I couldn't care less if the item I have has X% more damage, or X% better regeneration, or X% whatever than something else. Alright? As long as I'm able to have fun, I can survive, I can get the kills I need to get, I can get my stuff done, I'm happy. Okay? I don't need to be the end-all be-all. I'm content. I don't need a huge assortment of different kinds of loot. Because the way I see it is, usually you find your favorite weapons and things you like in a game and you stick by them anyway. You'll have your favorite loadout, and you stick with it. So, for me, I'm not the same as other gamers who like having all this different loot because they just want to have a collection. For me, I don't want to have a collection. I don't like the idea of having an inventory filled with a bunch of different items that I'm never going to use. Alright? That's not me. I'd rather just focus on what I like, and I'm content. So, the loot issue didn't impact me, so I was able to enjoy the game for what it was. And this brought me a lot of hard times when I played it. I got hassled a lot. People made fun of me. They joked around about how I don't like good games because I like Anthem and the mass population hates Anthem. People would always poke at me and make fun of me for liking Anthem. And it wore me down. Because no one likes constantly being hassled about liking something they like. Why can't people just like things they like in peace? If you don't like it, I'm not forcing you to try to like it. If you don't like it, that's your right. Move on and play something you like. Don't try to take my fun away because you're unhappy. I don't understand this concept where people have to put their unhappiness on others. If other people like something, let them have it. Alright, just let us have what we like. I'm not coming into your, personal space trying to force you to like something you don't. So why do you think it's your mission to push your opinions on me and other people? It drives me nuts that people do this. And it's just a bad thing that's happening within the gaming community. You have people that heckle people because they don't like the same developers they do. You got people heckling people because they don't like the same games they do. You got people heckling people because they don't like the same platform that they do. That's fine. Not everybody has to like the same things you do. Why do people have such an issue with people not liking the same thing they like? Who cares? If you're PC and a person wants to do PlayStation, let them. If you're PlayStation and a person wants to do Xbox, let them. You enjoy what you want and let them enjoy what they want. Why is it your personal goal to try to force them to switch into what you like? who cares? I'm not, coming into your home telling you what brand of shoes to freaking buy, or what grocery store chain you should shop at, or trying to force, what TV brand you should have, or anything like that. So I don't understand why the gaming community thinks they have to try to force developers and games and platforms on each other. Who cares? They're all there for one reason, and that's for enjoyment. So pick the one you like and enjoy it, and let people enjoy the ones they do. That's all I have to say about that. It's just childish. It is childish. And it just made it really hard. Because I loved Anthem so much, it was my main game. I have been struggling for years to find a main game. I've been a variety streamer since I started. Alright? And so I didn't want to be a variety streamer because it's really hard to get growth when you keep switching up. People will come because they're a fan of a game and they want to share their experience with you for how they feel about that game, and then you go and well, we're not playing this anymore, we're playing something else, and they might not like that game, so it makes it tougher. I finally found a game that was my main game that I could play day in and day out and not get bored of it, and I loved it, but it was just a constant challenge because every time I would stream it, I would have people come in just to heckle me about how this game was trash. They hate this game is dead, game is this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, if you don't like this game, why are you so passionate about going from stream to stream to stream to tell people how much you don't like this game? That tells me there's something else there. For you to be going around looking up people who are enjoying this game, it secretly makes me think that maybe you like this game too, but you're just disappointed in it. And because you're disappointed in it, you just want everybody else to know that you're disappointed. But instead of you just being like, I like it, but I'm disappointed, you come in being rude and, a bunch of asshats that try to just come in and be over the top negative. You're not constructive about anything you say. You just come in with nothing but intolerance and negativity. And because of that, there was a moment when I was considering giving up streaming because it was no longer fun. Alright, if I go on to my channel and play with my friends and play a game that I love, and then I can't have fun because I have people, bringing me down because they don't like the game, why would I want to stream? I stream because I want to have fun and I want to be happy and I want to share experiences with other people, that, have the same likes as me. If you don't like it, then why are you coming over into my space? Go into somebody else's space that's playing something that you like. It just ruins things. And I thought about giving up streaming because I just wasn't having fun anymore. No matter where I went, whether I streamed or if I made comments on Twitter, about things, or even on my other podcast that I have been doing, I would, no matter what, whenever someone wanted to make a correlation between games, they would always bring up Anthem as the negative example, and then they would call me out on it every flippin' time. And there's no reason for that, alright? There's no reason for that kind of behavior. It is childish. And nobody wants to constantly be harassed and heckled because they like something. It ruins things. So I didn't want to stream anymore. I got to the point to where I felt overly censored. I didn't want to, talk about how much I liked it because I knew the only comments I would get was everybody bashing me for liking it and why I should hate it. It got to the point to where I didn't want to go on my other podcast because I know every time someone talked about a good game, they would then bring up Anthem and heckle me some more and make jokes, and they think it was all harmless fun. But getting that day in and day out for months and months and months isn't harmless fun anymore. Now you're just being a bully. And people don't grasp that. And so when I got the news that Anthem was getting shut down, I was sad, because that game did bring me happiness. It did bring me enjoyment. And I was waiting for this Anthem next to come out. People kept asking me if I was going to play Anthem again, because I played it for a year straight. A year straight! And people said that I would not play that game, after like a month, 3 months tops. That, I would be like everybody else and I would give up on it. That game was going to be a failure. And I played it for a year straight. Okay? I loved it. And I kept telling people that I've done everything I could do in that game. I love it still. I do want to go back to it. But at this point, I need to wait for new content to get added to it. And they kept promising that they were going to have this 2.0 thing. Because they hadn't announced at the time that it was going to be called Anthem Next. For the longest time, we just knew it as Anthem 2.0. And I had all the faith. I was following the devs on Twitter so I could see their progress. I knew they were working hard on it. And I had faith that they were going to bring us a brand new experience that was going to bring the loyal people back, as well as some other new blood that maybe never tried it, or maybe they did try it, but they were kind of, not as happy. They liked it, but they weren't happy with it, and they fell off, that maybe they would come back and give it a second chance. I wanted that. I wanted that so bad. So then to find out that they were going to, close shop on development for it made me sad. And I know it was a tough choice for them because, they put so much hard work and effort into this for so long trying to get this fixed. And they had to just, they didn't have the player base, because it comes down to, if we're going to be investing into, a product, we need consumers to, get the product. So if people aren't really playing it anymore, that becomes a huge factor, as well as all kinds of other things that come into play that the company would have to look into with their logistics and everything. So I understand why they had to, they decided to do what they did. I know that they did not make this decision easily or lightly. Nobody wants to, have to, when you're working on a project that you care about, no one wants to just give up. All right, and see it fail. So I know they're not like happy about it, but I understand why they did it, because the player base isn't there. As much as they wanted to save the game, they couldn't do it in a timely manner to actually save the game. Alright? They needed to have this stuff. They needed to have everything in place within the first 6 months of this game launch. Because after 3 months, your casual gamers are gonna be gone. You'll still have your hardcore fans that are enjoying the game that'll be there. But I would say hardcore fans for a game are usually smaller than your casuals. People that just want to pop in and enjoy something for a little bit and pop out and move on to other games. So you lost a huge amount of your player base right there because you couldn't get things worked out within 3 months, which is a huge undertaking. There's no way they could have redid the entire loot system in that time. But if they had plans, they had a roadmap of other content that they wanted to do, and then they just didn't do it because I think they felt like there was no point in it, since people were so upset with how the loot system was. So they made that their priority, and I think that might have been what killed this game, is they made that the priority, and they ignored everything else, so this game had no content coming out for those that were still playing it, which means those people were no longer playing it. Like myself, I played it for a whole year, and they gave us a little breadcrumbs every now and then, but it wasn't anything sustainable. So we fell off. And if they had kept with their roadmap and still had other events come out while they had a team of people working on the overhaul, then maybe it could have been something. But they didn't do that. And now the game is gone, all the player base left, and it just became more of a money pit for them to, keep putting in the labor to keep working on something that people weren't playing anymore. So I get it. I'm sad, but I get it. I'm gonna miss it, because it was a game, like I said, I really loved it, despite the fact that I had so much negativity from people because I liked it, and it just bothers me. But pretty much they said that, I'm not going to read their whole thing, but pretty much they said that COVID was a huge issue. They had a lot of their people had to work from home, and it's really impacted their productivity. I'm sure, like I said, when it comes to like the size of the player base and other aspects that they had to look into, it just made it to the point to where they were just beaten. They were just beaten, so they had to just accept defeat. So that they moved on, and I believe they said that that they were going to bring the people who were working on Anthem still into working on Dragon Age 4. So hopefully Dragon Age 4, is fantastic, because the fans aren't going to be able to take another disappointment of that scale. All right. When you're devoted to a franchise or a development studio, you can handle some failures, because they're not going to get it right every single time. But when you get too many failures right after another, it becomes a trend, and then people lose faith, and that's not good. And BioWare is, they had their disappointment with Mass Effect Andromeda, and then right after that, things didn't go smoothly with Anthem. So the next big game that they're going to be releasing, which is probably going to be Dragon Age. I doubt Mass Effect would be the next one, since, you know what I mean? I feel like Dragon Age would be the next one. If that one is not up to snuff, we're probably going to see majority of the fan base lose all hope, and they might abandon BioWare altogether and not support any future projects. And that's going to put BioWare in a bad spot. Which is also, because of this also means they have a lot of pressure, which worries me too, because now they know they've, had 2 failures in a row. Now they're going to be super pressured to make sure they don't F up again, and that kind of stress to make sure they don't get it wrong, that's going to be a lot for them to have to deal with. People don't work well under stress like that, especially if it's constant stress. So there's a good chance that because of that kind of work environment and that pressure, they might not do well because of that, and that would be because the fan base is putting that pressure on them, and EA and like board members and anybody who is financing the project is going to be putting pressure on them, because they don't want to see another failure. So that worries me a lot. That's something that I don't think people think about. They just think, oh, well, if they don't do this game well, then they're done. They don't think about the fact that that's exactly what they're dealing with, is that they don't do this well. Could you imagine going to work every day with people, with everybody, your fan base, your higher ups being disappointed and putting pressure on you that you're not good enough? I mean, would you want to go to work with everybody seeing you as incompetent and not good enough? Of course you wouldn't want to go to work like that. Nobody would. Alright, so it's going to be tough, and I'm worried. I'm worried about BioWare, and I'm worried about Dragon Age, because we've now got them. They put themselves there, but we're also keeping them there as a fan base with the pressure we're putting on them. We're putting them in a very negative environment, and that could resonate in the development of Dragon Age. So we'll have to see how that goes. I hope that they're able to, overcome this giant hurdle. But like I said, that is a lot of stress and pressure for any person to have to deal with. So I wish them all the very best, and I hope they succeed. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that. I think I've been ranting long enough. But I do want to thank you all so very much for listening to me rant about this. If you haven't tried these games, please try to be open-minded. Yes, they are flawed, but they still have a lot of positives as well. Go ahead and try them. Alright, Defiance 2050, Anthem, they're available on all platforms, for the most part. Well, except for Nintendo Switch. But check them out. Maybe you'll like them, maybe you won't, but, at least you can say you tried. And that's all I ask. That's all I ask, because these games meant a lot to me, and now they're gone, or soon to be gone. So I'm going to miss them. These were great. These were great games for me, and I feel a lot of emotion about it. But thank you guys for listening. I'll try to get in the habit of getting more episodes out for Just a Glimpse now that I want to get back in the rhythm for season 2. And that's pretty much it. So make sure you guys, check out my Twitch channel, and, recommend me to your friends if you think anyone would enjoy listening into Just a Glimpse, or maybe you want to check out my other work. I do the Platform podcast on Twitch every Saturday. That's done live with video cam for those of you who actually want to see it versus just listen in while you're on your daily commute or what have you. Check it out. We talk about gaming news that's relevant each week, and we do have some debates about things, because we are passionate gamers, and we do see things from different spectrums, so it gets heated from time to time, but it's always good conversation. So come check it out. And thank you guys again, and I hope to, hear from you all real soon. Take care, my friends.